Good morning. Today is January 17th, 2022. I been wanting to do this for a long time. This is a write up that is extremely valuable to you as a driver. And some people, it's going to go through one ear and out the other. But for others that really want to race in a clean or trying to improve themselves, you're a rookie, maybe you're an Xbox racer, you don't really know much about real life racing. I don't consider myself an expert. I've been driving a car since I was about 6 years old, and drove karts as a kid. My father was very big on safety, and my house was basically when there was races on in my house growing up, from like when I was just a tot. It was like church in my house when it came to racing. You had to pay attention or go be quiet somewhere. There was no talking in the living room when it came to racing on TV. And I always kind of just paid attention to things my father would say. And he was a huge, huge race fan. Should have been a race car driver. Had amazing talent with automobile. I personally could drive. I've never raced other than some karts and a couple track races, track laps on track open track days. But I consider myself probably a more timid real life race driver. I've driven probably about, let's say, about 800,000 miles, maybe somewhere in there. A couple of years I worked as where I had to do a lot of traveling in a vehicle, so I racked up a lot of miles on that. But during that time, knock on wood, I've never had one accident in all that time because I did defensive driving. I put myself into positions that, sometimes there's positions people cannot avoid. Things happen. But I try and apply those same things in racing because for the reason that I'm probably never going to win any championships. I'm never going to be the top tier racer. And that may sound like negative or whatever, but it is what it is. And I don't have the great desire to put thousands of hours into something to be number one. Like in iRacing, yeah, I was super fast and put ridiculous amounts of time and effort into racing. And then it just takes one loon to not know how to draft behind somebody else and take you out after you spent like literally hundreds and hundreds of hours working on your racecraft and race setup. So I'm just not interested in putting the time that I put into. I would rather have it be fun time rather than been serious time. But at the same time, I want to race other people in a respectful, gentlemanly way. And rather than treat them as a hostile opponent, I prefer to treat them as a neighbor if I could. Someone like try and treat the other cars like they're an egg, basically, and that I don't want to smash into that egg. And this PDF file is Clean Racers Gold, written by, if you don't want to listen to me, listen to these guys. You can look up Randy Popes and Terry Earnwood. And the beginning of this, it says, the club road racing program sincerely thanks Randy Popes and Terry Earnwood for developing these guidelines of defining a racing room and passing etiquette. Randy is a SCCA Hall of Fame member, a national road racing and solo champion, professional race car driver, and very experienced driver's coach. Terry Earnwood is a legendary Skip Barber driver instructor, professional driver champion, professional driver's coach, and the current driver orientation manager for the Trans Am series, which is a series you can look it up on Google in North America. It's a very, very well known. If you live in Europe, you might not know what the Trans Am series or what Sports Car Club of America is. That's what SCCA stands for, and they have their own rules, guidelines, just like you know, like SRO or FIA or whatever, or IMSA. So let's move on with this pamphlet. It's basically for general competition rules of the road for the Sports Club Car of America racing. Racing room passing guidelines, safe, successful passing based on what drivers can see. Keywords. An overtaking car bears the largest percentage of responsibility for passing safely. And that is the same when you drive your real car on the road or when you're racing a sim car on the computer. It does not change. And it should not change whether you're in a fun run event on a virtual race course or a non-points race or whatever. You should have the same attitude whether you get in a real car, a virtual car, or a points race. It should not change that way of thinking. And any other way is a moron's way of thinking. I'm sorry, just what it is. Well, let's go on. 2, peripheral vision. The overtaking car, or not even just a moron, a person that is just selfish, really. You probably, if you're looking at this video and it's going one ear and out the other, it means you're probably a selfish person in the first place and you never get to pay attention to this. Most people will stay and get an idea about what we're talking about here. 2, peripheral vision. Overtaking car, the car attempting to pass must get into the peripheral vision of the lead car, the car being passed. In the braking zone before the lead car turns for the corner. Once the lead car turns for the corner, it can no longer see the trailing car because it's the lead car's mirrors now points outside and the lead car is looking towards the apex. And what they did is they put these little pretty pictures in here. So like it's kind of like, you have to write on a wall for like Neanderthals. Here's a nice picture. And they even put a nice little, can't see my cursor. I need to turn it on so you can see my cursor. I forget how to do that in here. I turned it off for racing so my cursor wouldn't be on my screen. All right, well, I don't want to waste too much time looking for that. But you see the big white area? That's the driver's field of vision. And the car in the orange is about to turn into the corner. This is figure 1. Figure 1 shows overtaking cars got up to the A pillar, which is basically, the A pillar is basically where your windshield is. It's gotten into the A pillar and into the peripheral view of the lead car before turning. The overtaking car now has taken the line away and earned the right to racing room on the inside. So, okay, the A pillar, or I'm going to highlight right here, that A pillar is basically his front bumper is up to, this is a good view, it's up to the other driver's windshield or beginning of his front door. That does not mean his rear bumper His rear driver's side wheel or passenger side wheel if it's a right hand turn. It doesn't mean any of those things. You don't have the corner. If you don't have the position before going into the turn, if you see where they're still on a straight right now in this picture. They're not in a turn. If that car, the red car, really, in my opinion, to really make a good pass going into the corner, you should be equal. The other guy should, without a doubt, know that you're there. Otherwise, it's just dive bombing. But at this point in SCCA rules and most sports car rules, you just got to get the pillar and then the line is taken away and they've earned the right. That does not also mean gun the car and you've earned the right because you accelerated while you were in the other guy's braking point and you're going to use him as a guardrail basically to get through the turn. That's not racing. As my people think it might be race, that they earn the right because they gun while the other guy's already in his ascending speed. They're gunning the speed, and because they ran into the other car, because the red car ran into because he was carrying more speed into the corner, does not mean he could use the orange car as a guardrail, because no matter what that car says and they think that they had the corner, they're pushing out into the other guy's they're not holding their line on the bottom. They end up pushing out because they held too much speed going through the corner. To earn the corner, the overtaking car must have its front end up to at least the A pillar post or windshield, with the car under control before the lead car turns into the corner. The goal is for the overtaking car to present itself to arrive in the peripheral vision of the lead car before it turns in. And that's just being a decent citizen on the track. That's all that is. And if you're not racing for a championship or whatever points in a real life race, there's no reason why you should have to put that guy at risk like that. Especially someone that you don't know or don't race with on a regular basis, that you don't have like any kind of deal with, that you're racing each other hard. An overtaking open wheel should have its front wheel up to at least the lead car's driver's shoulder within the peripheral vision before the lead car turns in. But we're not talking about open wheel right now. The blind spot. You see here, the car's not at the pillar. He's up to the rear end. And just to let you know, in a virtual race I was in just the other day, I had a gentleman, he's a nice guy, but he was saying that XYZ guy ran into him, blah, blah, blah. And do you want to look at it? Did you see it? And I was like, nah, I didn't see it, So he was brought it up several times. So I went and looked at it. And when I looked at it, I saw him do exactly what I explained in the last picture, where he carried too much speed into the corner, and at the same time the other driver was during his turn in. So he never had position, but he hit what would be the orange car while the orange car was making a right turn in the driver's side rear wheel. And at that point, if you're hitting someone's driver's side rear, you do not have the position. And not only did that said driver not have the position, where he thought the other guy was blocking him or wrecking him during a race, he also had the wrong driver. So, like, if you're going to be complaining about a virtual race, at least if you're going to bring up someone's name or someone else did something, at least take the time to watch the video to see what has happened in the events. Were you right or wrong? Things happen so fast you don't even realize sometimes. Your recollection could be completely something different than what actually happened. So before you start bringing up people's names or who did this or what that, and like in this specific case, the guy brought up someone else's name that wasn't even involved in the incident, and he was the one that did the wrecking. So just an example. Watch the video or a replay before you start squawking about other people. Sorry if I sound harsh. I'm very serious about when it comes to this, and I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect driver. I make errors, but not that often. There's people that make errors every single race. They're running into somebody else out there, and they just race with no regard for other drivers. That new position is so important to them that they're willing to both put themselves and the other driver at risk to take a position. To me, that's not what we call gentleman driving. So figure 2, which is the one in the picture, shows the lead car's turn-in point. The overtaking car is yet to get even with the A-pillar and to the peripheral vision of the lead car. Overtaking car is in a blind spot. Do not pass unless the lead car is much slower and gives racing room. Which this leaves out. Maybe you'll cover it soon. Don't just think don't assume because the guy's slower, he's going to make room for you. Because if you're both not on blue flags, if the orange car, say, is not a blue flag situation, there's no reason why he has to move from him just because you, in general, on many tracks, are faster than he is. Or maybe sometimes the guy in the orange car has, on many occasions, made room for you to pass. Don't take that as a guarantee, because it's not. Just like in real life, when I'm driving my real life car, and this is why I have not been in a lot of accidents, I see someone put the turn signal on. That doesn't mean that they're going to use it. A lot of accidents occur because they rely on what the other car's doing, and then instead of relying on what they're doing. Racing room. Should the lead car decide to go with him side by side, then both cars must allow each other racing room. At least a car width plus 6 inches or so to the edges of the racing surface. Both cases, the trailing car must be in the lead car's peripheral vision to safely hold position. If not in vision, then the trailing car must back off, i.e. use brakes or gear down, and follow. Some people don't know what the word brake is or back off is because the lead car cannot see it. The biggest mistake and common cause of contact is the overtaking car is taking a shortcut to the apex from that blind spot. This right here is the key to like 99% of the accidents that happen in sim racing. I'll read it again. The biggest mistake and common cause of contact is the overtaking car is taking a shortcut to the apex from that blind spot. Turn 1 at Road Atlanta as a classic. Put parallel to the lead car and as close as safely as possible so that he knows you are there. And don't rely that his spotter is going to tell you that he's here, because the spotter doesn't always work. Sometimes the lead car may turn in early. Therefore, the overtaking car must be under enough control to avoid contact. Understand that? You, as a driver, are responsible to have enough control going through a corner of your own car. That is a big, big, big tell right there. This is written by people with decades and decades and decades of racetrack experience. Understand that. And they're telling you sometimes the lead car may turn early. Therefore, the overtaking car must be enough control to avoid contact, because that car, no matter, even if the guy turns in, is responsible for the incident. People don't get that. They're like, slow, he turned into me. You're trying to pass them. Your job is to pass cleanly. If you cannot make that clean pass, don't make the pass. Don't go for it. Back out. People don't understand that simple fact. They think everything's F1. Everything is not F1, people. There's a difference between F1 and sports car racing. All right. Now, one of the best places to pass, I believe, if possible, passing on the straights. On the straights, the lead car is allowed one safe move. It could choose a side, but cannot move back and cannot move over in reaction to an overtaking car if late enough to invite contact. It must leave a car length. It must leave a car's width plus 6 inches of racing room if the overtaking car has already committed in that direction, has achieved the overlap next to the leader. No weaving to break the draft or to block. See this a lot on tracks like Paul Ricard. Tracks like, let me think, Spa would probably be one. Cars with tracks with long straights, you see this. Weaving to break the draft or block, that is more than one move, people. Drivers. Read it again. No weaving to break the draft or to block. That is more than one move. That's pretty simple and straightforward, isn't it? On the straights, as opposed to corner entry, it is possible for the lead car to look in its mirrors and see the overtaking car. So if the overtaking car gets even a small overlap next to the lead car, the leader must give the overtaking car room to race and can no longer move across the track. We saw this last week. At Snetterton. So the car behind, moving vigorously back and forth to get past the lead car, and the lead car was kind of in the middle of the track, going towards a left-handed turn, but taking a narrow blocking maneuver to get through that turn. It would have been a very shallow turn. And in the meantime, the car behind ran into the lead car. Now, that lead car is allowed its one move, and the guy behind him can weave back and forth all he wants because he's faster or whatever. It doesn't matter. In an aggressive way, it doesn't matter. But at any cost, he is not allowed to hit the driver in front of him. And knowing that said car going in, blocking to take a shallow corner, is obviously going to be slowing up. He's not brake checking you. He's going to be slowing up a ton when he goes into that left-hander. And that's exactly what happened. And then the guy behind him just plowed him and then acted like he was brake checking. But that wasn't brake checking. He moved. He's going down a straight to take a left-hand turn. He has to slow up to take the shallow turn because he's going to push way out if he doesn't, or go into the grass. And while the guy behind him takes it as blocking or brake checking, he's not really blocking or brake checking. He's slowing for the left-hander, because if he doesn't slow on a shallow turn like that, he's going to push out or go onto the grass. Here's the image of the straight. Driver's field of vision. No overlap. The leader in where the perforated line is makes the one move. The top move at the top is not okay. You make the one move and you're allowed one move only. It's that simple. That's road track 101. As a rookie driver or a driver that's experienced that would make a move like that, then you're not racing correctly. It's also not cool. The second image to the right, you see in the straight, opposed to corners, that lead driver can see that driver behind him and he's already got his bumper up to his rear wheel well. You can't turn that. You can't move over then, because you're just going to take both cars out. And that does happen. And what good is it if you take the other car out? You just lost so much time. That's something that I see in road racing that I used to see in NASCAR online racing that you don't see much in road track racing. The road track racer constantly wants to push to get by the guy in front of him. Did you ever think about just working with the guy in front of you to make time? The more you sit there and race him, you're both hemorrhaging time. Maybe take a breath and sit behind the other guy a little bit, and maybe you'll gain on the guy that's in front of him. Meanwhile, you're racing him so hard, you're both losing time, and the guy behind you is catching you. I mean, it's just really common sense, people. Really common sense. When being passed, hold your line. This means be predictable. Do not change your line. Do not change your line to pull out of the way. Hold your line. Hold your line does not mean take the line for the apex and turn in front when a much faster car is approaching. Be aware of faster traffic and leave the lane of racing room for them. That right there. And we're talking about, say if somebody's like, say 5 seconds behind you, you just constantly see them ticking off time. And like within like a half a lap or a lap, they've gained 5 seconds of time, or even 3 seconds of time. The gentlemanly thing would be to make racing room for them. They might catch you in an inopportune area where I don't blame you for not making a ton of room. And they should be gentlemanly as you are and realize that they caught you in a bad zone. But gentleman racing would be to let that gentleman pass with no issue, because he's a lot faster than you. Why hold him up? There might be a track where you're both racing down the road where you're faster than he is, and hopefully he'll remember that. It's like putting a quarter in a piggy bank. Like, you're putting a quarter in his piggy bank for later, and hopefully, when it's your turn to pass him, you'll gain the same quarter back. That's the way I look at it. It doesn't always work that way, but or if, say, the guy's damaged. He's a much faster driver than you. He's off-paced and damaged. He's still trying to finish the race. and hopefully he'll remember how you've treated him on the track, and you'll get the same treatment back. If it doesn't happen, then he's not a gentleman. He's just a jerk, in my opinion, especially if he's a lap down. Figure 4, Vortex of Danger. Now, this is Randy's big thing. He has a YouTube channel where he goes over this vortex of danger all the time in his real life racing that he used the GoPro for. Okay, shows picture right here. Lead driver turning in. Red car completely in blind spot. Entry vortex of danger. He's starting his turn in. This guy should be backing out right about now, rather than trying to be a bully. And actually, if you're turning into the corner like that, and you guys have been running back and forth, like nose to tail for laps on end, and he tries to pass you in this way, he's a bully. That's not gentleman racing. That's bullying. If anything, what he should be doing at the top of the picture is trying to pass you on the way out of the corner. The entry, I'll highlight it. The entry vortex of danger, figure 4, which is this, is a triangle inscribed by the turn-in point of the lead car. So your triangle, you see the perforated line in front of the orange car, and then you'll see basically the whole half circle is cut in like a 40% into a triangle, so the whole left of the car turns into a triangle, which is the entry vortex of danger. When overtaking, keep out of the vortex of danger. That's that triangle right there to the left of the orange car. It's too late to pass. The hole you see is rapidly closing. You're in a blind spot, and there will likely be contact, and it'll be your fault. I'll say it again. It will be your fault. Yes, your fault. Understood? Figure 5. Exiting the vortex of danger. Driver's field of vision. Lead driver is in the orange car. Trailing car in the red car. I'm going to make this a little smaller. The exit vortex of danger, figure 5, is a triangle inscribed by the apex. The track out point of the lead car in the outside edge of the road. When attempting to pass on the outside, be aware of the exit vortex of danger. That's the triangle on the upper side, the passenger side of the orange car, which the red car is about to enter. It's too late to pass. That orange car is about to push out in that corner, and also you're in a blind spot. The hole you see on the outside is closing rapidly. You're in a blind spot, just like I just said. There will most likely be contact, and it will be your fault. Simple stuff, guys. Sometimes for common sense to work, all of the common have to have sense. But if you have a select few that don't have common sense, it could cause giant pileups and issues. Sometimes multiple issues if admins in leagues allow the same drivers to make the same mistakes over and over and over, race after race, without being addressed. My suggestion, if you're in a league like that and it's annoying, you find another league. Or start chewing on the admin's ear about certain drivers that don't race like gentlemen. or don't race within common rule sets of sports car racing. Number 7, the outside pass. See in the picture, driver's field of vision, half white circle, and it shows it in stages going through the turn. On an outside pass attempt, figure 6, the picture you're looking at now, the overtaking outside car never presents itself to the vision of the lead car and cannot expect to make room for a car it cannot see at the exit of the turn. So, the outside trailing car must back off to leave racing room for the inside car that cannot see it and avoid the exit vortex of danger. In this situation, if the outside car makes contact or runs off the road, it's most likely their fault. 100% their fault. You're the passing car. You have to pass cleanly. Don't put the fault on the other driver for not knowing that you're in their blind spot. Sure, like if you're in a virtual race, not even a real race, in a real race, you might have seen the guy coming up and you're relying on your sixth sense. With a virtual race, you have a clock and a time. You can see the timer, the guy's up against you, and you rely a little bit on an in-game spotter that doesn't always 100% work correctly. And even when it does, driver during the pass trying to take a pass is concentrating on pass. He's completely focused on getting by you at all costs, and that's what causes the incident. He's not thinking about gentleman driving. He's thinking about getting by you. Again, in this situation, if the outside car, the red car, makes contact or runs off the road, it is most likely their fault. Unless this orange car acts erratic in some way, that maybe brakes hard or, turns his wheel erratically or something like that. Most likely, I would say 99% of the time, it's going to be the red car's fault. Turn 5 at Road America is a prime example. Kind of unfair to give this because not everyone knows what Turn 5 at Road America is. Prime example of where the lead car may, but if you're in the Trans Am series, you've probably raced at Road America. So this rule book is pretty much for a professional driver that's raced at a lot of tracks. Turn 5 at Road America is a prime example where a lead car may protect his line, not using all the track on the right. An overtaking car in this example needs to clearly present himself in the braking zone before the turn-in. So in other words, before you turn, this is a good way of warning the other guy. This doesn't mean that you're going to be able to make the turn still, but if you pull out, say if you're going into the right first one Road America turn, you're both on a straight. If you pull out ahead of time, you're kind of showing your intentions a little bit. But at the same time, even if you show your intentions, that lead driver is still in the lead. Under all circumstances, it's your job to pass him cleanly, even if you showed yourself by coming out of the blind spot and you basically showed yourself. He sees your head, if it's night, sees your headlights. Daytime, he could see you in his mirror that you moved out, but it's still, he doesn't have to back out. You're not up on him. He could still turn into the corner, and it's your job to pass him cleanly. And that goes for the inside or the outside turn, pass. The overtaking car in this example needs to clearly present himself in the braking zone before the turn-in, because the lead car looking into the corner is not right mirror, and all probability will not leave racing room at the exit. Of course he's not. Why should he have to? The outside passing works well when both drivers have excellent spatial awareness, but it is a very low percentage move in most cases. Yeah, it's not a smart move at all, unless you're like so much faster and skilled than the other driver that you could get up on his side before what the picture is. You'd have to be up at the other car's side to make the outside pass work before before either car turns into the turn. That's pretty much it. I mean, that really in a nutshell is driver 101 passing, or even rookie 101. Every new person to Xbox, virtual racing, or whatever should read this pamphlet. A pamphlet that's called, if you want a copy of yourself, you can contact me, or you could just do a Google search for GCR GCR underscore. It's right up here. Right there. GCR Appendix P passing guidelines. Even if you put that without the underscores, it will come up and you could have a read of this pamphlet yourself. Again, I'm going to highlight this. This is the biggest problem of arguments. This whole pamphlet is the biggest problem of arguments in online racing. And when it comes down to it, you're going to treat the guy like a jerk, or you're going to treat him like a gentleman. Safe, successful passing depends on what a driver can see. Do not hit what you can see. It's that simple, people. We all make mistakes. Shit's going to happen. But if you take the advice of this simple pamphlet written out by real life race admins and professional race car drivers of ultra pro level for decades and decades, making this simple pamphlet that's easy for commoners like you and me to understand, then if you race like that, you'll have a lot less issues. This is not F1. You're not Hamilton. You're not Verstappen. You're not Jimmy Johnson. You're not Jeff Gordon. You're not whoever, AJ Foyt, Andretti, whoever, champion, Sienna. You're not any of these guys. You're just a regular guy racing in a virtual race. Why not build a good reputation for yourself of being a gentleman driver? And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast. Hopefully, I sometimes could be a little bit harsh, but it's just the way I speak. I apologize for that if I seemed harsh at all. But it's the rules. It's the rules. Know the rules of the road in whatever game you're playing, whether it be football, baseball, bocce ball. Understand the rules of what you're doing. In any game, that's what will make you a good sport. That's what sportsmanship is. To adhere to the rules of the organization or game you've joined. It's a simple thing. Be respectful to other people while you're playing that game. Be humble. Don't be a jerk. Be positive. Go out of your way to help the other drivers that maybe aren't as good as you or aren't as fast as you. But just because you have XYZ driver is so much faster than everyone else, doesn't mean you have a license to impair their race in a way that is not gentlemanly or respectful in any way whatsoever. I mean, where does it help you to race like a jerk, or not be humble, or not treat people with respect? Help your fellow drivers. That's the end of my rant. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it actually helps somebody. You could even employ these same things in this pamphlet to driving a car on the interstate. They're valuable common sense tactics of driving an automobile or a motorcycle even, or whatever, truck, whatever, in a game or in real life. Anyway, hope you click the subscribe button. Hope you enjoyed this broadcast, and hope you come back. Have a great day, guys, and good luck, and hope you have safe, successful racing.